I'm a big fan of the phrase divide and conquer. How is that money being made and how much time are you spending on making it? It could just be social media scrolling.
It is our responsibility to be successful for our kids because there's moms that feel really guilty right now.
It's all connected. It doesn't matter if you're a solo parent or you've got lots of adults under the household and you've got a nanny. If you're also in a luxurious situation to still be thriving in a relationship with another person that's helping to parent your kids.
Focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
So who is Amy Landino anyways? Personal brand coach, guides ambitious women to stop trading time for money and build lives they love. International keynote speaker from Columbus, Ohio to global stages, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, 3-time best-selling author, over 50,000 books sold, including hits like Good Morning, Good Life, and Vlog Like a Boss. She's an award-winning author. She's an award-winning YouTuber, creating content since 2007 and building a powerful personal brand. She's a vegan, mom of 2, ages 3 and 1, loves dried flowers, lemon water, and capturing morning light. Her work philosophy is no more wasting time. She encourages thriving in business, family, health, and mindset. Amy, what's happening?
What's going
How
on,
are
Daniel?
you?
I'm so good. How are you? I love your background. That's magic.
Okay. I was literally going to say the same about yours, like pink vibe, Barbie babe.
I
don't
love
know
it.
what it is. So
And I literally used to have these neon signs on top of palm tree wallpaper. That was when they made their debut. So it's perfect.
yes, exactly. Well, you know, the palm trees and mint green and pink. We're going back
Yes.
to the Miami Vice days.
Hell yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
love it, love it,
How
love
are
it.
you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great. And Amy Landino, so you're like a best-selling author and coach to the women of the world and just people of the world. Got some great books, and we're going to dive deep into all that stuff. So thank you for
Awesome.
being on Wealth on the Beach podcast. Excited.
Thrilled to be here.
So you have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, is that right?
I do.
Okay. So what's that like because you talk a lot about time, you talk a lot about not wasting time and, making, our best use of time. So tell me what that's like running a business and dealing with diapers.
It's my favorite thing in the world while being the hardest thing in the world. I'll tell you why. I've been talking about productivity in business for a very long time. And I used to get in the comments of my YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube for a long time too. I used to get in the comments, so these are really good tips for a professional YouTuber. Come back when you have kids. And I always thought that's really interesting that, you immediately get that pushback of any advice that you give, that somebody likes to project their limitations and say like, yeah, but how would you change this for somebody with kids? How would you change this for somebody with ADHD? How would you change this for whatever the case may be? I think it's so important as a viewer to customize to what your life actually is, but it got my wheels turning. Like, what am I teaching here that maybe I haven't fully grasped that is working for me, but only works with the conditions of my life? I was constantly testing that, but there's only so far you can test it. If you don't have kids, you don't have kids, right? So now I have these children who require so much of my time and so much of my energy and so much of my presence. And you really do have to take those ideas that you've been building upon and strategies you've been fine tuning and actually play them in the game in a totally different way and test them and stretch them and customize a little bit more. And I think that's been the coolest thing ever for me. I know that's a kind of a meta answer for what I do, but it makes it so much more fun for me to raise my kids because I realize I did so much inner work prior to this experience. While I'm not perfect, because no one is, I definitely find myself able to be more present with them when they're around because I've done the best I can when they're not.
You have a good handle on your time too. So you obviously have mastered the art of spending time in the right ways. I'm sure you're just an amazing organizer of time as well. So if you were to give our audience, especially the mothers out there that are kind of struggling? Because look, the vast majority of the people watching right now, they're small business owners.
Yeah.
There's moms that feel really guilty right now that they're working, killing it in business, but they're struggling a little bit with the work time balance. And so number one, is that even a thing? And number two, maybe you could give us a couple, maybe one or two great ideas that you kind of figured out after having kids.
I think the biggest idea that everybody needs to grasp is if you're asking for work-life balance, you're usually taking outside opinion that should not be considered largely into account. So what I mean by that is it could just be social media scrolling. You could see a family having an amazing time doing something, and simply by watching that while not with your kids, think, am I doing enough for my kids? In all actuality, we become better people when we fulfill our purpose as much as we can. And our purpose is not always just to be a parent. It is usually just a feature of what's going on in this life. And I don't want that to sound arbitrary. It's so meaningful being a parent. But the more you put that your entire purpose is in parenting, the more you kind of are inclined to bring those kids up to rely entirely on you. And you want to give them independence in a lot of ways so that they can survive and thrive on their own. I find every time I'm not around my kids, as much as it breaks my heart, whether I'm working, whether I'm on a work trip, anything, I see them when I come back and they are better. Like there is a percentage to which they are better because I was not there, because they were not able to ask me to pull their pants up, because they were not able to ask me for another yogurt pouch, because they had to figure things out a little bit differently in the context of the environment they were in. And that's what it takes to grow up into a whole human being. So I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe that when people ask for that, it's because they feel like they need permission from someone to feel okay about what they're doing. I feel very good about the work I do, and I only want to work on the work I'm doing when it's fulfilling me, which means I'm a total stickler about my time, so that I can be fully immersed in my family when it's time for that and not feel bad at all that I'm not paying any attention to the business. That confidence takes practice. It takes years. It takes better management of your time and really understanding what that means. And I think it makes you a better parent because you're teaching them really good habits and that confidence that they're going to need themselves.
Do you think that sometimes those mothers or fathers too, because it happens to fathers as well, do you think that sometimes they use their kids as an excuse not to go work hard, not to go fulfill some sort of purpose? Maybe because they just haven't designed their life right, or because I personally see that. I see a lot of excuse making from parents like, I have this and this and this and this. So they're never accomplishing anything for their own lives. And I believe that as parents, it is our responsibility to be successful for our kids because we're trying to show them, purpose and, some sort of mission is really what's going to bring us happiness. And if we are happy people, I think we become better parents. So again, the question is, do you think that sometimes parents use their kids as excuses not to go get shit done?
Yeah, absolutely. And it plain and simple is this. I'm not going to do that because I have kids, right? And it's usually the way it comes out about anything. And you don't have to have a continued conversation with anyone, especially yourself, when you say that, because it's the easiest way in your brain to go, right, I have kids. Don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to fight with myself internally about that anymore. No one's going to come for me if I say that. For the most part, people won't, because it is the ultimate comeback. I won't be doing that because I have kids. I'm leaving because I have kids. I won't be attending, whatever the case. But what if the thing is actually meant to make you a better person, actually meant to make you a better role model? Something that my husband and I have found we need to say out loud more often because you can feel a little guilty. I leave very early in the morning to go to the gym, and he goes to the gym after work. And that's how we've found the balance to just like help with time a little bit. And we weren't talking about it before, but something that we want our kids to know is that we are taking care of our health. and that the gym is a part of that process. So now if my 3-year-old is like, where's Baba? I'm going to say, Baba's at the gym. And we're having that conversation. He's not here right now. He is not playing with you right now, but there's a very intentional reason for that. And we are going to support him in that. So now the next question, as you have a growing toddler, is going to be, well, why? I'll tell you why. Why is he at the gym? Let's talk about it. And so I think if you are saying, I can't do that because I have kids, even though you're hearing from everyone, especially all of the lovely people you listen to on podcasts that are clearly taking care of themselves, they're thriving, and you look up to them, that you can't possibly do what they're doing because you have kids, you might ask yourself, what if they did it because they have kids? And that they actually want to live longer, or they want to have a better life for them. They spend a little bit more time refining the business so that in sooner years, it's beginning to run itself. You made the machine work. You still have to run it, but it's working on its own. So you have more space, more hours for your family. You had to put that time in for your kids because you're thinking about that future. I think if more people framed it that way, they would be questioning a lot of decisions that they've made where they put it kaput with the can't because I have kids.
And as far as the relationship between you and your husband, I feel like that probably gets strengthened when you both are on the same page, when you both have some sort of mission for the future, and also agree that, look, I mean, I'm probably not going to be there every second of every day to take care of the kids, So when I'm not there, you're jumping in. When you're not there, I'm jumping in. And we work this thing like a partnership. I always say that 2 heads are better than one.
Yeah.
And you work this thing like a partnership. Now we can really start, feeding off each other and start creating a life, versus just living life, but to actually like intentionally living and building and creating a great life. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
100%. If it, just like you said before, this isn't just mothers, this is fathers. If you're also in a luxurious situation to still be thriving in a relationship with another person that's helping to parent your kids, you are co-creating life together. I'm a big fan of the phrase divide and conquer. I never know if I'm actually using the phrase properly, but I'm always thinking in divide and conquer, because if we have the ability to be 2 heads are stronger than just one, then let's make sure that we're making the most of that. Not just if you need to go to the gym, I'll cover, but also, I have a 3 and 1-year-old. Bedtime is a little scrappy in our house. The 3-year-old's kind of manipulating, like, "Oh, I don't want to go to bed yet." And the 1-year-old's out cold, but sooner than later, she's going to be afraid of the dark, and it's all going to shift again. And they have different schedules right now. Just going through the flow of that is already so much. Being able to communicate fully with somebody that's doing it with you is the number one thing, so that you don't find yourself in a default parenting situation, which is so easy. And I'm not going to say we have it perfect. My kids default to me. Like, it's just, they're girls, I'm a girl. It's just working out that way. But it's nice when it's like, that's daddy's role, that's mommy's role. Like, having that, it sounds so antiquated, but all it really is a system. You've just figured out a system. It doesn't have to sound like that if that's not the case for you, but have you dialed in a system? Because my number one thing I have loved proving is that everybody wants flexibility. Like, I want to be able to do whatever I want whenever I want. Even with kids. The kids, oh my God, the number of people when I had my firstborn that said, the kid should adjust to your life. The kid should just do whatever you do. And it's like, okay, like that makes sense with a newborn that's sleeping all the time in the baby carrier. But actually, we will get more flexibility. We will be able to do more, go more places, try more things if they have a firm and established bedtime routine or morning routine. All of these things that it's like, I can't have a good morning routine because I have kids. I hear that all the time. I'm the author of Good Morning, Good Life. The number one thing I hear is, how am I supposed to have a morning routine if my kids are always, asking me for something as soon as they wake up? Why aren't you doing your morning routine to show them they need a morning routine? Why aren't you walking them through the same basic 2, 3, 4 steps every day to show them they also have a routine. Mommy has a routine, you have a routine. These are all things that if you teach them, the standards that you uphold are what give you the flexibility in the rest of your life. If we go rogue and have a crazy long night at the park and then we grab ice cream, it's no secret that, okay, it's time for bed. We're going back into our usual thing from here. We're not spiraling after that. We can have a little fun when you have a good foundation. So it's all connected. It doesn't matter if you're a solo parent or you've got lots of adults under the household and you've got a nanny, all these things, you've got to have the roles clearly defined so that there's not this chronic guilt trip at any given time about what you're doing, how you're spending your time, and if you should feel bad about it because you're supposed to be with your kids right now.
Yeah, I love how you even said roles, because I think in a partnership, in a relationship where you're raising kids, you each have to like get your thing done. So,
Yeah.
I'm actually not married anymore. I've been separated for quite some time, but as I raised my kids, I was married during all that time raising my kids. And I just look back at, we each had roles that were defined. We each knew exactly what we were supposed to do. And as long as she did what she was supposed to do, and as long as I did what I was supposed to do, and as long as I was disciplining the kids the way that we agreed on, and she was doing the same, things worked out actually really well. I mean, we were able to build a incredibly successful company together and raise two amazing kids together. But I look at things like even the bedtime thing. I would go on appointments and I would be out till sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night. I would, be doing appointments. So I'd be driving. I mean, this was before the Zoom era, of course. This was 23 years ago, actually now. And I would be out late on appointments. And so I would get home, but I would tell her to keep Max, my son, up. So he had a different bedtime, and we were all really different. So we created the life, not just like, okay, it has to be this way. So if we kept them up till midnight, because sometimes I'd get home and we'd all stay up till midnight. So we would just sleep in the next day. And then that would be our schedule. We knew, because we were creating the schedule based around what our lives, determined that we needed to do. But the point is that we were both on the same page. And I think that I see so many couples that they're on different, schedules and different situations, but they're not in agreement with what needs to get done to fulfill each one of the roles and to make sure that everybody's getting the most out of what they want to get. So yeah, the relationship thing, the kid thing, it's totally complicated, and it's totally up to each individual person to figure out, like, what's the role? What are they supposed to do? So when did you, when you look back at your life and career, and when did you come to the realization that, tell me first of all what you did before, but before you started becoming an author and doing all that kind of stuff, did you do anything else before? And when did you come in the realization that you wanted to coach, that you wanted to teach, that you wanted to start writing books?
It kind of just happened very organically. Like, it's almost like I didn't even know I was a coach, and I've been a coach for a long time. The first conversation I ever had about business was with a friend who I was simply at her house. And again, this was a long time ago, guys. So you're going to hear this and be like, what? I was helping her with Facebook privacy settings, and I fixed something for her, and she said, wow, you're really good at this. And I was like, it's Facebook. It's all the rage, and like, of course I'm good at it. And she said, no, you don't understand. Like, this is something that businesses are starting to do. They are putting their information on Facebook because it's becoming so popular. And I was like, wow, that's interesting, because social media to me was just this new fun thing that we were doing that I was only in colleges to start. And then it just became this little get to know people and reminisce and post a bunch of pictures. She was a graphic designer contracting out, and she was from the West Coast, who's always, New York and the West Coast, always very far ahead of everybody else. I'm just here in little Ohio where we don't know what's going on in this world. She said, I work for a company. They have a social media manager that they have contracted. I'm their graphic designer that they've contracted. We work together on their social media stuff. And I was like, this is crazy. So I just go so deep into that. At that point in time, I thought I was going to work in the lobbying and fundraising sector of a law firm for the rest of my career. And I was just blogging on the internet for fun, just like enjoying it. So that was the beginning. I had coached her on that. Then I was finding out I could help other companies that didn't know how to use the internet to save their life. I was coaching them on that. I was executing with them. And then as I started to realize this was a real business and it became my little agency, I then had to coach the world on the fact that they needed to know about this. So then I was creating videos on YouTube specifically driven to promote my business. So then the comments were like, that's all fine and good. Facebook, Twitter, got it. But how are you promoting yourself with video on YouTube? We want to know this. So then I started teaching that. The business just continued to evolve. I think if everybody thought of themselves as a coach at all times, you'd be more apt to listen to what people are asking you and trying to figure out what do they want? What do they really mean about what they want? And how can what I do help them make that happen? You're trying to get them on board with that vision, but you can only do that when you really tap into what their desires are. That's coaching. And then you have to motivate them to do said things, right? So I feel like I've just been a coach forever, but just doing it in different ways and starting in an agency model, then moving into consulting and then coaching, speaking, writing books. I mean, the whole gamut. I've been an influencer. My business has had multi facets like throughout forever, but it just has been very organic. And I think I went like really doubled down on coaching in the last few years, where it was like, this is something that's very natural to me. And I'm finding such a hole specifically with women in business who are just not hearing what they need to get activated in a different way. We're all really good at doing the things. We do all the things, but we don't have to do all the things. And if we started to have a bit more confidence in ourselves, we would realize it's possible to make many things happen in a different way. And that's where I felt like I was getting my empowerment from.
So what's one of the big mistakes that you see women make? Because obviously you're coaching a lot of people, so you see mistakes all over the place. What's a couple?
The biggest one is that women are just only charging and reaching for revenue that would be good enough as personal income. It's like, I want to make six figures. Cool. But then you're pricing yourself to make what, $100,000 in service provider revenue a year? That's nothing. You're basically taking on a risky job when you do that, especially in this day and age. $100,000 does not go where it used to. It is not something to brag about when you are, especially when you're in business for yourself. It makes no sense. It's barely going to do what you need it to do. So what I'm seeing is by only giving yourself that and saying, well, I could leave a job if I make more money than I would at a job. It's not necessarily true. There's a lot more to that story, and you limit what's possible because you're already thinking, I have to keep all of that revenue for myself. You're not going to grow. You're not going to expand. You're not going to get time back. You're probably going to spend more time in the business doing all the things. And you just really are not learning what it's going to take to have a sustainable company be able to give you the life that you want. You're constantly going to be working for that business, thinking I have time freedom because what? My work is virtual. If you're still tied to the laptop all the time, are you really free in your business? No. So I think that's the biggest one, because ultimately you undercharge for your work and you're still trading time for money in a lot of ways. And so you just don't grow because you won't invest to expand and see where you can go from there.
Is there a little bit of a piece of like, I mean, I see a lot of small business owners, they're not utilizing social media. They're not making content. They're afraid of what everybody thinks about them. They're afraid of offending people. They are not willing to invest into their business, invest into the right coaches, the right marketing people, you name it. I mean, do you see a lot of that too?
All the time. All the time. I mean, I'm basically a professional in personal branding. It's one of the hardest things to sell in a lot of ways. You have to get really creative with how you present it because the prospect of you can increase your visibility if you just get your face out there, it's not worth it to a lot of people. And I can completely understand why somebody has that point of view, but they usually do because they're not 100% sure they would die on the hill for what they do. And if that's the case for you, I would ask myself if I really wanted to stay in that business. You should feel so confident for whatever you're doing right now. Most importantly, because you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to be a different person in 10 years. You're allowed to learn from whatever you're doing in this career and leverage it to figure out how to be better in the next one. So many people are worried about, I have to have the perfect business right now that I would love until I am dead in the ground because I am going to stay here and just be confident about it forever. And in all actuality, you just need to pick something, stop romanticizing what the product is, just learn how to make money. And so you can do that work to learn from it and get better and maybe move on to something else if that's the case. You can't learn that from someone else. You can only discover that by going through it yourself. So many people, they spin on this because they're just so afraid to pick a lane. But it turns out when you pick a lane, you get to go fast. When you go fast, you get ahead of a lot of people. And then some of that stuff you were worried about before, about what are people going to think about me? People are going to judge me. Those are all your friends, family, former coworkers, whatever, that are way back there still. And you're so far ahead of them because you have your head in the game of what goals you're trying to hit, what milestones you want, so that you can just learn. If you just knew you had to pick a goal and hit it so that you could know more, I think people would feel more confident then so you can make more money. No one wants that as a goal. They're very afraid of that. I don't want to say I want to be a millionaire. Fine. Just say I want that goal so that I'm way smarter and that I know that it turned out this career was totally worth it, or I know as soon as possible that I need to bail on it. Like, if that's good enough for you, then pick that, whatever makes you move fast. But I think that that's the main thing. People don't want to personally brand. Don't want to plaster their face. They don't want to post more content. They're afraid to pay someone to come and shoot them doing video because they have to look at themselves. They have to face a lot of facts about who they are and what they've done to get to where they are at this point. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. They're afraid of that process. But the people who hit that head on the fastest are the ones that become the most successful. And you end up on that bandwagon that nobody wanted to get on before, but suddenly they want to jump on while you're going full speed. Of course they do, because you're in your flow. That's what I want for people.
Yeah, for years I've said, find one thing and make it your life's work. Find one thing and just go for it. And look, the truth is, if you love it, if you're excited about it, there's no reason why you couldn't make it your life's work. And I mean, I was very fortunate to find my line of, my lane at 21 years old, and I pushed it, and I just turned 50, and I'm still, a part of what I was able to build at 21 years old. So
that's amazing.
So the truth is, though, is I feel very lucky and fortunate because, I mean, I was financially independent by 28, and I technically didn't have to work since I've been 28 years old because I found that one thing at 21. So if I would have, and what I see with so many people, and I also, I've been coaching people forever too. But I tell people, like, look, you're wasting your life away trying to find the perfect thing. Nothing's going to be perfect. Like, you're going to do financial, like I own a financial services company. You're going to do financial services, and there's going to be 10 things you don't like about it, but it doesn't mean that it can't be your life's work. Nothing is going to be perfect. You're not going to like everything about anything you decide to go do. You might be excited to be an artist, but you end up realizing that artists don't make very much money unless you really become a famous artist. So there's always going to be something that you're not going to like, that you're not happy about, that you're not fulfilled about, or whatever. But doesn't mean you shouldn't give it your all and just go for it. And, so, I mean, you've been doing YouTube for a long time. And was there ever a time that you that maybe it just wasn't going fast enough, that you felt like maybe you wanted to quit?
Every day.
Maybe, you know, like
Every
did
day.
you feel that way at all?
Every day for 20 years. I've been on YouTube since 2007. I probably didn't actually take it seriously, like I said, till I made that crazy discovery in 2009 that social media was potentially a specialty to sell businesses in marketing, this weird word I thought I never wanted any part of. And I think I can, there's only one season that I got comfortable on YouTube. And then it ended up being the biggest mistake ever that I got comfortable. So every single day, it's not good enough. And also, it's the entire reason that I never have to report to a job again. So it's my life's work. There's not a day that I'm like, maybe we will quit YouTube. There was a while that it's like, do you ever get too old to be on YouTube? No, that absolutely not. Like, we do not live in that world anymore. It is one of the most important assets I have. It could get taken away from me at any moment, but it has still given me so much to this point that can't be taken away from me. So even if it were to disappear, I fully leveraged it because I was fully in the energy of it. That's, I think, even what you're talking about. If you're not lucky enough to have chosen what your life's work is at 21 and for it to retire you at 28, that's still okay. I think the combination of the advice that we were sharing here is like, if you found something that you stick with so well that it gives you that leverage, that you can start to be more picky, you can start to do things differently, your hourly rate changes because it's not by hour anymore, then you're looking at a very real scenario where you have time freedom, where you have the ability to be more financially abundant and taken care of. So most people are just like, okay, great. I'm just going to go with the thing like Daniel told me, and I'm going to stick with it till I'm 100. It's like, no, that may not even have to be the case. But if you stuck with it long enough that you became the best in your class, that it separated you so much that there's an exponential growth at some point, that's what you're looking for. So that's my thing. It's you have to be totally patient with the factors you can't control, but completely impatient with yourself and what you're doing today to move the needle.
If you were to go back and ask your younger self and like have a conversation about ambition and success and, you know, kind of living that dream life, what would that conversation look like? I mean, what advice would you give yourself?
I think I would tell myself, most importantly, I think I would make sure she knows you're doing too much and it's okay to not be the smartest person in the room. That has been a really big challenge for me. As a firstborn and always feeling like the standards were very high for me, I always felt like I had to know all the answers all the time and be that. But I would want her to know that you can be ambitious, you can be impressive, you can feel really good about yourself and actually be the dumbest person in the room. And if you are, but you're there for the right reasons, not because you have nothing to contribute, but you have other people who are far ahead of you and are contributing to you in a way that you could never imagine because you have to stretch yourself so far in order to even have that surrounding, I would hurry up and tell her that. Like, girl, you don't have to be the expert. I think my favorite thing that I heard recently is that every day, every single day that goes by, you become less of an expert. And that's because as you become more high level and you do rely on more people who are really good at what they do so that you don't have to do things you're bad at, that you're less of a practitioner and therefore you can't be the expert on it, but you can still have a lot of wisdom that will apply to that space and you can leverage resources and people and a team and your experience to be able to still be the expert, right? It's not about knowing all the intricacies. I don't need to know the latest YouTube update. I'm often surprised when I log into YouTube. I can't keep up. They change it every second. I don't need to know every single toggle back there, but I do need to know what the main point of that platform is, why they make money, how I make money, how we marry those goals together so that they get me more attention that I need so that they thrive and I thrive. And if I figure that out as a holistic approach, we're good. Like, I don't need to know, oh, I need this little toggle tag thing. I'm more high level. I have the right experts in place. I have the right advisors surrounding me. So I focus on the big picture.
Yeah, yesterday I was trying to, you know, those little cheese sticks things, you know, and then they have the little plastic around them, and then you got to try to figure out how to, you know, like to open it up. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, you're making me very hungry, but I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
And so I'm sitting there with my son, and I couldn't, for the life of me, I just couldn't get the damn thing open. Right? He's 23 years old, and then I'm like trying from the side even. I'm reading the little directions on there, and I'm like, I got to be like the dumbest person in the world that I can't open this little. So I give it to my son, and like, of course, in like 3 seconds, he opens it. He's like, "Yeah, Dad, you're supposed to go from the top." And I said, "I tried, I couldn't, you know." And he's like, "I don't even know how you actually like built what you built, like, you know." And
Even
of course,
function if you
yeah,
can't
like,
open cheese.
yeah, how did you build a multi-million-dollar empire and you can't even open up a cheese thing, you know? And I told him, I said, "See, that's the thing that you don't understand is like, you don't have to be the smartest person. I'm not the smartest person. I think that I mean I haven't taken an IQ test before, but I probably, if I took one, I wouldn't have the highest IQ for sure. But I'm not the most intellectual. I'm a slow reader. It takes me time. I have to read like 2-3 times over
Yeah.
the thing that most people,
I
they just
love to read.
one
I'm
time.
such a slow reader.
They
Yeah,
get,
I'm with
yeah.
you there.
Like I love Audible, and I'll listen to Audible book 3, 4, 5 times because, you know, I didn't get it the first, you know,
Yep.
3, 4, 5 times. But the point I'm trying to make is that just validating what you were saying is that you don't have to be the smartest person. Now, I do believe that 90% of winning is being excited, and 90% of winning is delegating to the right people. 90% of winning is really like being that person that believes that it's possible, because nobody's
Yeah.
going to follow you if you didn't do some homework to, you know, prove that it can be possible. And once I proved that what I was trying to accomplish was possible, then I got the confidence. And then so it was basically the competence turned into confidence. And then
Yeah.
once I got really super confident, people started to follow me. And then once they started to follow me, of course, I built teams and built a business and all that kind of stuff. But what you're saying is absolutely right. And to anybody out there that's like feeling bad about your mental capacity, trust me, I feel you, I hear you, I understand you. And you would be surprised, man. Most people that you think or that you've seen that, you know, obviously have had some success, they're not all the smartest people. They're just the
Oh
people
my
that
gosh.
believed the most. So expand on that if you can.
Totally. I love everything you said. And I think that the hardest thing for me to learn is when you are like, I'm the bad student, I'm the slow reader, you're grasping to make up for that, which is ultimately going in on your weaknesses. And it's holding on to competence that has held me back the most. I wanted to be the most competent. I want to prove I'm right. I want to tell my team how to do it instead of having them get activated to figure it out themselves. Go Google it. I just did. Like AI will tell you the whole thing. The confidence that you're grasping onto is the entire reason you don't have confidence, which is why what you said, the more confident you got, the less you kind of held on to that need for competence. And all the competent people are like, I need some of that. So they come to you. Ultimately, you end up with insanely brilliant people on your team because they bring that brilliance to you. And then you, if I have to give anyone advice, if you're the slow reader, if you're like, oh, I'm not super brilliant, I don't know all the tactics, be good at talking to people, because that's why anyone wants to work with me or Daniel. It's because we see something in them and we see something in the future, and we can figure out how to apply your skills, which is why we want to work with you. And ideally, you have that same identity shift for yourself, that you're like, oh, yeah, I don't have to hold on to this perfect expertise for the rest of my life. I can just take it for what it was and grow from it. That's where your confidence comes from. Another thing I'd go back and tell young Amy is, again, like, just stop worrying about what everyone thinks about how competent you are, which is definitely something women do a lot. That's why we do all the things. Stop worrying about that. They're more concerned about, yes, can you bring some brilliance to the table? Please do, but be very specific about what it is, because it doesn't need to be everything. And then step into your power when you do it.
All right, let's just step into a little bit of practicality, and we're gonna hit on some important points real quick. But okay, so you meet this young, small entrepreneur. They got a little business. Maybe they're making $100,000 a year or something. They're trying to get their business going. They don't know what to do next, right? They're getting the sales. They got just kind of a little business kind of moving along. What would be something that you would advise them to do? Just give me, 2-3 things that you think, okay, you got to do this and this and this. If you want to scale this thing to $1 million a year in revenue, what do I got to do, man?
I have a couple of first steps, but I want to get really practical. So I'm just going to go straight to the biggest one. You have to audit your time, like to the minute. We have to look to see, how do you spend your time? If you are making money right now, how is that money being made? How is that money being made? And how much time are you spending on making it? How much time are you spending on doing things that don't make you money? How much time are you spending on things that are completely irrelevant and totally holding you back? How much time are you spending with your family? How much time, just what are you doing? We need to know where you've proven concept, and then we need to grow that. You don't know where to invest your time if you are not paying attention to how you spend it. If you're just flying by the seam of your pants every day and you're just like, okay, here's the client project, get it done, get it done, get it done, just constantly working on those conditions, it's just not going to pan out well for you. But if you could dial in, how much time does the client project actually take? How much time do I need to spend selling myself? How much time am I funneling leads to me? How much time, et cetera, am I checking emails, scheduling appointments, taking sales calls? All of that. What can we account for things that are 100% not at the pay level you should be in? The first thing we've got to do is take email and scheduling off your plate. Like you spending too much time on your admin when you've already figured out how to make money, and you are taking time away from that to do something as little as $15 an hour, or maybe even less, I'm not sure. Like, that's insane. If you have a goal and you're clear on who you do this for and the problem you solve, those are some of those bigger first steps. You have to audit your time, because in order for you to exponentially grow, you have to stop trading time for money. And when you're not paying attention to how you spend your time and how you make more of that time, the only way to make more of it is to go buy it. You have to pay other people to be that time, because they then have time, right? So it's very, very important that we audit. If you don't do that, you don't have to change a single thing. If you just audit your time, it would make you shift something after a week if you saw how you spent your week.
My mentor used to say all the time that he would like, in his calendar, we used to have like written calendars, a big calendar book. He said he would block out, like literally audit his time every 5 minutes. I know that's crazy, and probably he wasn't perfect on it every single day of his life, but that's how intentional he was about planning his time. And I was, I look back at all my planners. I saved so many years of my planners just to prove to all my agents that I actually did all the things I'm asking them to do, because I believe in leading from the front. I believe in doing it first. Everything I've ever done, I've always been the one to try to stay one step ahead of my teams and just let them know that I'll never ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And I was willing to go and look at my schedule every single day to make sure I planned everything out, to make sure that I knew who I was going to call the next day, who I was going to book appointments with, who I was going to invite to our big events, and, to grow the events and to grow the meetings and things like that. And so for me, the time thing is everything. Because if you don't get the time right, you wake up and it's like already 10 o'clock at night, and you're like, what did I do? What did I actually get done? What result did I have today? And ultimately you go, too many days without results, and then you go out of business, right?
And I want everybody to be able to do this. So I just want to share, Daniel, that if you guys come over to my Instagram and message me time audit, I have a free resource for you. You can get it without an opt-in or anything, just to kind of start this process. If it's new for you, it's a really good just way to start. But if you think about all the people who loved talking about how much work we actually get done in a day. You know how the news likes to report on that? How much work, what's the productivity like of workers in the workplace? They'll tell you, oh, it's actually 30% of the workday. We loved using that information to be like, we should all work from home. Don't call us back to the office. Let's do that. Let's do. You love saying that in a situation where you're trying to negotiate your time with an employer. But are you doing that with yourself? When you talk about wanting more freedom and your business is supposed to give you the life that you want, then you have to rectify the fact that you could measure your execution per 5 minutes. That is absolutely realistic in this world. It's hard to track, but it is realistic because we are looking at our phone on Instagram. Then we're in email. Then we have a team member say, I need you for 5 minutes. Then you need some deep work. Where'd the deep work go? It's so easy for this little birdie to take you in lots of different directions. It's very true that the core of what you have to do to move the needle in your business is actually 30% of what you're actually doing, but you're not tracking it and you're wasting a ton of time. You could have picked up tennis lessons by now. You could have taken an extra family vacation if you just knew better. If you're totally fine with what your revenue is at right now, and you just said, oh, if I just spend a little bit of time, if I spend a little bit of money on an admin to take over some other things, I'm good with where I'm at and I could just go have some more free time. Why would you not want to discover that?
Yeah, time's crazy, man. I mean, if you don't take control of it, it will control you. And once you run out of it, I mean, and again, I mean, that's our the most finite resource, right? Is our time. You want to do things that are going to move the needle for your life. And I don't know, there was a song, I don't know if you listen to country music, but it says, I'm in a hurry, but I don't know why. That was me in my 20s. Like I was in a hurry, and that's why I was like so crazy about every minute of every day, is because I wanted the freedom. I had a goal that I was trying to achieve, and I knew if I wasted my time, I wouldn't be able to get there. And so when you speak on stage and you're in front of all those people, and I mean, do you still get a little nervous? I mean, like what's going through your mind? Do you ever have a little bit of that, imposter syndrome, or do you ever have doubts? Do you ever have fears? Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. If you walk on stage and you are not nervous, congratulations. But I actually think that because I walk on stage with a little bit of those jitters, after a period of time, it comes from a different reason. I think initially you are just freaking out from lack of experience. But once you have a little bit more experience, you're just a little on edge because you care so much. Everybody in that audience is rooting for you. Like maybe if you're a comedian, you have some people who are coming to drink too much and heckle you and make you feel weird about yourself. That could be the case. A public speaker, when someone paid money to be at an event, or if they're at an event because their job made them go, they're still rooting for you. They don't want to be bored. They would love an aha moment. They are hoping for the best. So when you think like that, then my jitters just come from a place of absolute generosity. Like I just want everybody to feel like they got the most out of it. You are not going to be able to avoid that. When you are a professional international keynote speaker and you're up against other professional international keynote speakers, you're in good company, man. They've got trailers playing with massive graphics and they have these insane slides. They've been practicing their steps across the stage. Everybody's choreographed. Some people just fly off the cuff and they're amazing. You're always up against some of the best talent in the world. So you're gonna have the jitters because you're like, wow, pinch me. Is this my real life? And it's just so true. People really do want you to do well. They're standing there with a pen in their hand and they're hoping they're going to take a note that changes their life. That's a different mindset to be in than, oh, what if I fall and everyone laughs at me, right? I never worry about that. I worry about, is the focus on what it's supposed to be? So what am I wearing? That makes sure the focus is like really not on what I'm wearing. It's on what we're talking about. I don't want to distract from where the main energy should be. And I want to make sure I point to that. And as long as you've prepped in that way, I think you can walk on stage very confidently.
Do you believe in the law of attraction?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Absolutely.
What does that mean to you? Like, what does the law of attraction mean to you?
I think that energy is very important. I don't believe in time management. I believe in energy management. I actually don't even know that it's time that's the finite resource, although it is. I mean, I lost my little brother. He was only 23. Time is finite. But where we spend our energy and how much we enjoy life, I think that that's much more finite. And we lose track of that so much. So to me, the law of attraction is what energy are you putting out because you get what you give. And I think if everybody just remembered that, you don't have to be positive, Polly. But if you expect someone to treat you differently, how are you treating them? Or how are you presenting yourself? I think a lot of those logistical, practical things kind of go into this idea of law of attraction. You can think it's all hocus pocus or you can think it's all silly, but truly, if you want life to go a certain way for you, you have to emulate it. You have to act as if. And every moment I got really good at acting as if, even when I didn't feel like it, I never feel like it on a daily basis. I'm like, I don't feel like it. But if I just do it anyway, I am putting faith in the fact that it's working. My way of kind of describing law of attraction in really the terms I think of it is the word faith. Follow aligned intentions through habits. If you know where you're going and you know what your intention is and you know what you'd like to see for yourself and you know what that vision is long term and you know what the milestones are short term that would help you get closer to that. If you know what that intent is, you just have to follow through habits. If you put in those things that got to get done on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, that is someone who's already had those things come true, things they would be doing, you're much more likely to emulate the vision that you're hoping for to be true for yourself. We're all so busy proving whether or not something's actually fact instead of saying it can be fact. It just might not be in this present moment, but it may be fact about me. And if I act as if that is the case, my habits today would look a lot differently than if I said that'll never be a fact.
Powerful, powerful, good stuff, man. I mean, I'm a big believer of the law of attraction. I mean, I just think that my life has been I created it. I created
Yeah.
my reality. And I feel like one of the most luckiest people in the world and, very, very grateful because in the beginning, when I started to figure this stuff out, I was a bad kid growing up and I got in a lot of trouble. And then 21 hit and I just got after it. And it was me trying to prove to the world that I could actually do something because I did nothing with my life for those first 20 years. And so I look back and I go, I could be sad about being a bad kid, but it was actually probably the best thing that ever happened to me
Absolutely.
because I had now something to prove. I had something I wanted to rectify the life that I lived before to try to, to make a better life for my future. And that's exactly what happened. But once I started to figure out that these thoughts and these visions and, playing my dream video at night and listening to audiobooks before I was going to bed and all of these intentions and all of these, and there's a lot of people that they look at, oh, it's just, woo woo shit or, oh, that doesn't work. And you could think whatever, people can think whatever they're going to think, but I
Hmm.
just know that I saw what happened to my life before it even happened. Like literally, I was like creating in my mind all the things that I wanted to happen. Now, granted, I had to get up every day, get my ass to work, go close some sales, recruit some people, build some teams, learn my scripts. I had to watch the videos. I had to do all of the things that I was supposed to do every day.
But
But
you weren't thinking about it like you have to do it, right?
exactly,
This is the thing. And this is making me so happy right now. I'm like, that's white knuckling it, right? When you're like, I have to do these things. I have to. You were doing those things because you were going through the motions as if your vision was a memory. So because your vision was so clear to you that it was like a memory in your brain, when all the while, when I sit here, I currently right now a vision that's more of a memory for me is my dream home. That's where I'm headed, and I'm thinking about it as like I just love that the universe is prepping that home for me right now, because I can see it so clearly in my head. I can definitely see when something's not my dream home. Like all the time. I'm like, well, that ain't, I know that. Because I know it so well. And I don't think people fully grasp that. When someone says, oh, that's just woo-woo stuff, you're right. You're right. If you want to be right, you're right. But when you are so clear on what you're doing and why you're doing it, the things that you had to do, they just make sense because you see yourself in that vision so well. It's a memory you can play back over and over and over again. We as humans choose the most terrible memories on playback. Everyone can think of their most embarrassing moment. Everyone can think of their rock bottom. Everybody can think about the chip on their shoulder time in their life where they started to prove themselves. The best thing in the world is when you start doing things to prove yourself and then you go, oh my gosh, I think I just hit a moment where I actually don't care about those people anymore. And now I'm doing it for me. I feel so much love for someone that's going through a tough time because I'm like, oh my God, you are so lucky to go through this adversity, because those who don't have any real adversity in their life to learn from, they're never going to get it. They're never going to get it. I look at my little brother every day and I think to myself, you are so lucky because he lost his twin. That's not lucky. That's not lucky at all. That's the worst. That's the worst thing that's ever happened to our family. We are still in a tragic state. But when I look at my brother who lost someone who looks exactly like him, I mean, they were on the phone with each other whenever they could possibly be. They were, if they were not next to each other, they were on the phone with each other. And I think you are so lucky because that adversity is going to teach you more in your life than anything else ever will. And you never can see that when you're in the weeds like that, right? But those who have been through weeds and are seeing the forest can see that in you. And I hope that anyone that's going through a moment like that can have someone that has confidence like that to just put a little bit on them, because that's what it's about. It's use those moments to elevate yourself and say, okay, I'm still here. Why am I going through that? Because I'm still here. So go from there.
Love it. Love it. You have sold over 50,000 books, incredible books. I mean, Good Morning, Good Life, Blog Like a Boss. A lot of people are going to want to come and find you. They're going to want to talk to you. They're going to get your time worksheet. They're going to do all that kind of stuff. And they're going to say, Amy, where do we find you, man? Where are we going to get you?
You can find all that stuff on Instagram, Amy Landino. A lot of people like to see what's going on YouTube because I've been there for almost 2 decades. That's youtube.com/AmyTV. But if you search Amy Landino on the internet, it's going to be really hard for you to not find me.
Okay. All right. So you're everywhere. So thank you so much. And maybe just if you can, just send us off with one really good, thought that maybe just again, just something that you can inspire our audience with. I would appreciate that. But again, thank you so much. And everybody that's watching, by the way, make sure you reach out to Amy. Make sure you check out her books. Make sure you go watch her YouTube channel. I mean, this is a powerful, powerful message today. And so kind of end us off with something good, Amy.
Daniel, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you. This is one of my hell yes moments, is getting on conversations like this. So I'm going to leave everyone with what's a hell no? What's on your not to do list? This is one of my favorite challenges when I was going through a tough time in the last few years. And a mentor said, what's on your not to do list? What's on your never going to do it again list? And it was very empowering to be able to write that down, because once you do things like the time audit, and when you hear things that we're saying and you're like, why am I spending time with that person? They're giving me negative energy. Maybe I'm not into law of attraction yet, but I do know I might not be surrounding myself with the right people the majority of the time. I'm being influenced by the wrong. What's a hell no? What's a never going to do it again thing? If you can write that down, put it on a sticky note on whatever you stare at, your mirror, your laptop, your kitchen counter, and remind yourself every day, I don't do that anymore. If it was even the tiniest thing, I don't go to PTA meetings anymore. That's not going to be a thing I do anymore. That's okay. Pick something. Start to set boundaries and start realizing that it is about energy management. What are the things that are a hell yes? Let's give ourselves more of those and less of the things that go on the not to do list. Never again.
Good stuff. Everybody, continue to dream bigger than ever. Get after it. But most importantly, do it now. God bless you. We'll see you at the top.